Joe Budden's co-hosts are fighting each other. Queen's Flip just tweeted out something that was really shocking and said that him and Emanny came to blows. So he tweeted this out recently and he said, Emanny challenged me to a fight right before the Patreon and we went outside. Make sure you watch the next Patreon. I told Joe this morning on the phone, I'm a nuisance. In the past 2 months, tension has been high for the content. I will go harder. Now, this was his first tweet. I mean, there's a bunch of tweets we're going to have to get through. And after this, Emanny is tweeted by Queen's Flip and says, you told me let's fight in the elevator. Why, though? And Emanny would respond by saying, old school rules. Square up wherever and ask questions later. And then Flip would let out another tweet and said, that's kind of tricky because of where we was, but you got it, General. And after that, Flip lets out a list of things he's done that should have gotten him fired from the Joe Budden podcast. 1. Almost fought Ish. 2. Made Mel walk off. 3. Emanny called me outside to fight. And beef with all the people in charge. I guess he's talking about people like Ian, Keeb, and Joe Budden. I don't think he wanted to say their name because that could have led to real issues. And after that, Flip says, I'm not apologizing no more. I ran out of sorries. I want to live my life, fulfill my duties, and go on new life adventures. Now, is this him saying that he's done with being on the Joe Budden podcast and wants to make content for Flip the Network? Who knows? But the tweets wouldn't be over with Joe Budden himself saying ain't no apologies. I don't know what Joe Budden's saying. I guess maybe he's trying to signify like, hey, these apologies don't really matter to me. Just make that content, big dog. And after that, Flip would say, this dude Joe is different. I don't know what the F is going on. This move I can't figure out. He called me early this morning saying, what trip are we going on? What? LOL. He's mastered trolling. Well, I guess Joe was trying to run interference and give his guidance on the situation, but I think that's a really bad move, whatever he's doing, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Then, the final tweet from the big boss man himself, Ian Schwartzman, comes, and he responds to that list he tweeted out earlier about how he should have been fired, and he says, does any of this work? Really interesting stuff. Now, a lot of people are saying this might be COE, but the reason why I don't think this is COE is because of Emanny's tweet where he would tweet out, I can't fake my dislike for things too long. Eventually, my feelings will be shared through my words, actions, or lack of both. I'm still a work in progress, so bear with me. Salute. Now, I think that none of these cast members are as wise as we like to think. I'm not saying they're stupid or anything like that. I think that when people say, oh, it's COE, I can't think of a scenario where it was actually COE. And if it was content over everything, it bled on air. Look at the Ish M4 narrative. That thing became very real. Look at the Joe, Rory, and Maul tension. That was very real. All of these storylines can bleed into real life. It's the nature of the subconscious mind. What you put out in the world becomes the truth. Remember when Emanny laid out the Freaky Boy narrative? It eventually became so overwhelming that he distanced himself from it and started to embrace the broke boy narrative. And he ain't like that either. So these storylines can have really big real life complications. And I also want to add that I believe Joe Budden is making a tragic mistake yet again. And it shows he hasn't grown one bit from the Rory and Maul situation. The only way he has grown is the way his contracts are set up. But he's making a big mistake now, as Flip has continuously been disruptive and caused issues with every member of the pod. For example, his situation with Melissa Ford is getting uglier and uglier, but that's a video I'll do later. And him getting Emanny so angry that he has to fight him is a sign that he is no longer a controlled substance on the pod. He is literally impacting the happiness of others on the show. And remember when Ish and Flip used to clash, and Flip told them, why you acting like you the realest dude in the room? You impacting the morale and making everybody look at you funny. And it's just been weird ever since you arrived. And now Flip is being given special treatment just because Joe Budden feels he's dynamic. And instead of cutting the cancer out, he's allowing it to spread, and it's going to have real implications for his show. Yes, Flip is probably better at potting than everybody else. He brings the energy and takes the show to a new level, but I would say that's been lessening and lessening, and he hasn't been that great. And with the arrival of Mark Lamont Hill, I think he's as expendable as he's ever been. But let me know what you think. Do you think these series of tweets are fake? And I also want to end this video by saying, isn't it crazy how Joe Budden used to pass judgment on Adam 22, and kind of that even his fans inherited the judgment that Joe would pass on Adam 22 and the antics he would use with co-hosts fighting each other. But it appears like the Joe Budden podcast is engaging in some of the same stuff, specifically the fighting and the love triangles. Remember Damn Homie and Sharp? Well, it looks like Flip is playing the triangle of Emanny and Melissa Ford. Remember when Joe and Flip got into a altercation that almost led to a fight?
He said, if you want to fight, whatever you want to do, we could do it right now. And I said, so what's up then, nigga? But his tone was more higher than mine at the time. Like it was more deeper. 10 minutes passed, I had to analyze. I was quiet on my phone. I was recording. That's what I was doing. We were separated far from each other, but it was talking. So, what happens is like Joe's voice is powerful, and certain things. I was going to the story about on the balcony when we had our meeting, because we had our meeting Monday. I went back Tuesday. I was supposed to come back in July. We had our meeting and we were just arguing, man. Like, I'm talking about the neighbors was looking outside. Like, they were looking outside, record like the neighbors. Like, we were loud, using the F word, and I'm like,
Yeah, I remember y'all talking about that
yeah,
briefly. Yeah.
I like trying to play with my family, but you got to throw like that in there to see how neighbors care. Like, 10 minutes passed. He said, "Yo, when the last time you got into a fight?" I said, "Right now."
So it's crazy to see the Joe Budden podcast embrace reality TV fully, because Joe used to look down on that, but I think he's seeing that the profits from that could take his ideas of a network to a next level and make his content elite enough that people are going to tap in whether they like it or not, just because of the drama components. But it is something we have to say, because a lot of the narratives Joe laid out about how he's different about content creation, about how he moves with integrity, are going out the window day by day. Like I said, Melissa Ford looks increasingly uncomfortable. Emanny looks upset at the way he's being painted. Ish looks disengaged and can stop podcasting at any moment. And now, the Joe Budden podcast is the definition of messy, with some even calling them No Jumper East. And just for the record, I'm going to be covering the Patreon episode that drops tomorrow, as I think something really crazy is going to be revealed. With that said, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.